In Nigeria, Democracy Day could mean different things to different people, but to the current administration, it is a day for democratic governance stock-taking. And that's exactly what President Buhari did yesterday in a national broadcast. And today's edition of Weekend File will revolve around this speech. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the program. Now, the planned commencement of the implementation of mechanized agricultural revolution in the country, tagged Green Imperative, is one of the significant pronouncements of President Buhari yesterday. Also encapsulated in his speech is the economic diversification policy of government, with agriculture as the key driver. He also emphasized on the revamping of cotton, textile and garment sector via CBN Textile Revival Intervention Fund. President Buhari reiterated the main objective of the economic front, which is to stabilize and ramp up macroeconomy. He hinted on efforts of government to keep growing the non-oil exports and citing annual increase in revenue generated from cocoa and sesame seed, which went up to $79.4 million and $153 million respectively. Resuscitation of the Ajokuta steel plant based on government-to-government financing and private-public funding got the attention of Mr. President, and his directive to that effect is part of government's commitment to expanding the nation's mining sector. He said that government is already tackling the challenges in the delivery of power and assured Nigerians of a transmission of and distribution of 11,000 megawatts of electricity by the year 2023, based on agreement with Siemens Company. Construction of roads, bridges and rail lines across the country had been the nucleus of infrastructural development of this administration. And according to the President, completion of all the ongoing projects is a task that must be accomplished. And we will have a further analysis on President Buhari's Democracy Day speech in the course of the program with our guest today, Professor Kabir Madu, Professor of Political Science and a Public Affairs Analyst. Today is World Albinism Day, and the founder Albino Foundation, J.K. Pele, will also be joining us on Weekend File. My name is Kirian Umayo, and many thanks for joining us today on the program. We begin, as always, with the news. Now, efforts at making Nigeria among the 20 largest economies in the world by successive governments is being consolidated upon by the present government through the replacement of existing structures with more implementable successor plans. To this end, the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Abba, inaugurated 15 technical working groups for the development of Nigeria Agenda 2050 and the Medium-Term National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 in Abuja. Benny Adams has that report.
In what seems to be an all-inclusive national development plan, the federal government is involving the state and local governments in reform processes to be driven by the organized private sector. Tagged Medium-Term National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, it is an initiative designed to replace the existing Economic Recovery and Growth Plan of 2017 to 2020, and the Nigeria Agenda 2050 is to succeed the current Nigeria Vision 2020, aimed at addressing developmental challenges.
We want all facets of the Nigerian economy and Nigerian people to be involved in the conceptualization of this plan. So to this end, government will only be an enabler, and the plan will be driven by the organized private sector. Mr. President has approved that Mr. Atedo Peterside will lead in this direction.
This virtual meeting is to inaugurate the teams saddled with the mandate of putting together implementable successor plans. The teams are expected to review existing plans, policies, programs, and projects and align them with current realities to provide accurate evidence-based information, implications, and make recommendations on key areas.
Give our to put in all our best to ensure that we deliver a report that is implementable and useful to the federal government and in fact to the Nigerian people.
The working committees are expected to submit their final reports to a central working group at the end of September 2020, while Nigeria Agenda 2050 has up to July 2021. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
The Nigerian media have continued to be a powerful tool in the clamor for change and the egalitarian society. Although the country has walked a tortuous path to democracy, the country has sustained civil rule unbrokenly for 21 years. Ken Egboligo reports that President Buhari acknowledged the role of the media in the sustenance of democracy, pledging to guarantee freedom of the press to subdue purveyors of fake news.
Every day to source for information.
They are soldiers in the war front. They are not engaged in conventional warfare. Their weapon is the pen. They are the watchdogs of the society. Some in the course of duty had to pay the supreme price. That is the story of the media in Nigeria. Since 1999, when Nigeria returned fully to democratic governance, the press has continued to play vital roles in sensitizing the public and conveying the opinions of the masses on any action or inaction of the three arms of government.
The news, the publication, and bringing the people, enlightening the people of what to do and other things. I think there wouldn't be democracy without the media.
In retrospect, President Muhammadu Buhari, in his 2020 Democracy Day national broadcast, recognized the positive roles the media has played in the nation's democratic journey.
I must admit that the relationship between the media and successive governments has not always been perfect, but there is no denying the fact that you have been an effective watchdog for the society, especially in holding public offices to account.
For us, it's a welcome development that this government appreciates the tremendous role of the Nigerian media during the acquisition of June 12 and sustainability of democracy in Nigeria.
As the mass media nurtures the gains of democratic rule in Nigeria, the new media is posing a serious threat.
As professional journalists working for radio, television, and newspapers, our orientation is that of discipline of verification. Our orientation is to ensure that citizens get credible information.
As the nation continues to build on the gains of democracy, media practitioners are speaking with one strong voice against fake news and hate speech regarded as impediment to national unity and development. In Lagos, Ken Egboligo, NTA News.
Thank you, Ken, for that report. Now, to commemorate the 5th year anniversary of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, a documentary on verifiable achievements of the administration within the period will be transmitted on the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on Sunday, June 14 at 7 p.m. And all NTA stations are advised to hook up to the program. The APC Edo Governorship Screening Appeal Committee has upheld the report of the screening committee that disqualified 3 out of the 6 persons aspiring to participate in the party's forthcoming governorship primary election in Edo State. Chairman of the Screening Appeal Committee, Abubakar Fari, who presented the committee's report to the national president or national chairman of the party, said only one person appealed his disqualification and was thereafter upheld in accordance to the recommendation of the screening committee. National Chairman of APC, Adams Shomole, said the report is a testimony to the party's desire to sanitize the pre-election processes. National Chairman of All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshomole, says the party leadership will continue to work hard to ensure that those elected on the platform of APC focus on delivering dividends of democracy as enshrined in the progressive ideology. This was when the national chairman played host to members of the Ondo State House of Assembly at the national party's national secretariat, Abuja. Deputy Speaker Adeboboye Samuel led the members and assured the party of their readiness ahead of the forthcoming governorship election in Ondo State.
of our party for the purpose of elections.
APC should not jettison its loyal members who stood by the party in the storm.
On a similar visit, leader of Ondo APC mandate group Olubenga Abojuwame has appealed to the leadership of the party to open up the political space through internal party peace-building mechanism ahead of the governorship election. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to escalate, the World Health Organization is concerned about its impact on women and children, just as some countries around the world reinstate coronavirus lockdown measures for fear of a second wave. Joyce Ometo has an update on the health crisis.
For 2 consecutive days, the number of daily COVID-19 cases in Nigeria has exceeded 600. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control on Friday announced 627 new cases of the virus. The new figure brings the total number of infections in the country to 15,181, out of which 4,891 cases have recovered, while 399 persons have lost their lives. In Africa, numbers by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. reveal that the continent has 229,000 COVID-19 infections, 105,829 recoveries, and 6,119 deaths. Still in Africa, Botswana has brought back a strict coronavirus lockdown in its capital city and surrounding areas after recording 12 new cases. Similarly, parts of Beijing have been placed under lockdown again on Saturday as 6 new domestic coronavirus cases were reported, fueling fears of a resurgence in local transmission. In the meantime, the World Health Organization WHO said it is concerned about the impact of COVID-19 on women and children. Speaking at a virtual conference in Geneva, the organization's Director General, Tedros Adhanom, said the indirect effect of COVID-19 on these groups may be greater than the number of deaths from the virus itself. The WHO chief added that the organization has developed guidance for health facilities on maintaining essential services for women, newborns, children, and adolescents. Globally, figures released by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. indicate that 7,799,290 COVID-19 infections have been detected. 429,878 of those diagnosed have died. And that's a global update on COVID-19. Many thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometu.
269 stranded Nigerians in India landed in Nigeria this Saturday at about 2 a.m. Out of this number, 103 in Lagos, the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, and 166 in the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. All evacuees now on compulsory 14 days self-isolation according to the protocol by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. All tested negative before boarding and are to be retested within 72 hours at the Nigeria Center of Disease Control designated testing centers. Sir Emeka Offor Foundation and the Future Assured Initiative of wife of President Muhammadu Buhari has donated medical equipment to the Federal Medical Center, Jalingo. The equipment, which include ventilators and surgical tools, to enable the health facility upgrade to handle existing and emerging health challenges. Joseph Olsen filed in this report.
Partnership between Sir Emeka Offor Foundation and Future Assured Initiative of wife of the President Aisha Buhari to support medical facilities across the country is among the immediate impulse needed to upgrade health facilities in Nigeria to handle the emerging health challenges.
We're also doing this because the issues of health and human services, especially its financing, cannot be left to the government alone.
We will be able to set up an intensive care unit who will be able to carry out specialized ultrasound studies like cardiac, vascular, and breast studies. Surgical instruments and consumables that have been donated will strengthen our surgical department.
We therefore commend the exceptional philanthropic initiatives from the two organizations, which have over the years been the forefront of assisting the less privileged with their milk of kindness.
The medical equipment are valued at about 380,000 United States dollars. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound O10, NTA News.
Not minding the inability to meet physically under one roof, people living with albinism in Nigeria have joined others across the globe to mark the day meant to create awareness about them. The semi-physical and virtual celebration had members across Nigeria exploring ways to attain their full potential. Momsio Demiamdati captured the moment.
United Nations General Assembly at its 69th session declared June 13 International Albinism Awareness Day. Zainab Yusuf is one of the 600,000 persons in Nigeria observing the day.
Knowing that I have to live with this for the rest of my life, I had no option than to be strong and face it. I went to Kogi State University. I studied library science. I'm a graduate. Finished NYSC.
That's the spirit this year's event is trying to instill in all albinos, as captured in the theme, made to shine against all odds. Not even the constraint to meet physically could hinder their enthusiasm.
Free and compulsory education for all persons with disability.
The exhibition of artworks declared for sale to generate support for the treatment of persons with cancer is a highlight of the event.
Whatever proceeds in this exhibition today is geared towards the support to help the people living in albinism that also have cancer.
Pandemic or not, Zainab Yusuf and her likes are looking forward to a brighter future, where the color of their skin and pigmentation will not be used to judge or limit their abilities. Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
And our first guest on Weekend File is Jake Epele, founder Albino Foundation, a well-known Nigerian who has been at the forefront in the welfare and cause of persons living with albinism. It's good to have you, sir.
Thank you, Kieran. Thank you.
Now, let's begin by asking you to tell us more about the theme of this year's day, and how will it impact potentially, or if it has not impacted already, on people living with albinism globally?
Well, the theme was made to shine from the United Nations independent expert. But then each country is allowed to tweak it to suit where they are in the framework of albinism program implementation. And for us, we know that yes, we're shining, but there are also odds. So we said made to shine against all odds. As for the theme and the impact to the people, to persons with albinism in Nigeria, it was a moment for them to speak their mind. It was a moment for us to add impetus to the advocacies that we've been carrying out. It was also a moment that captured the interest and the intents of some of our supporters, including your DG, who is a very strong supporter of albinism in Nigeria. And so it's been impactful. If you had watched the clips of how persons with albinism were rejoicing, and for the first time we were able to take views from as far as Bauchi, Meduguri, Port Harcourt, Calabar. Everybody was part and parcel of the celebration, and they're already looking forward to 2021.
Yeah. All right, Jacob, you've been in this for a very long time, and you have been fighting for these persons, which of course you're part of. You talk about discrimination. We're talking about exposure to the sun. You're also talking about engaging children living with albinism with some certain activities that they should not do, based on their skin conditions. Right. So now, how far have you really gone, in this fight? Are people beginning to understand what you're saying? Are they beginning to be, giving the opportunity that others get, in any sphere of life?
There's been a gradual progress. I shouldn't be the one to answer this, but others. But however, there's been a gradual progress. Take for instance, the Albino Foundation was the first albinism organization to get a grant, a full-fledged grant from the European Union. They wouldn't have given you the European taxpayers' money if they know that you're not doing what you say you would do. We've watched lives change. Oluchi Iwoha is still one of my success stories, that we were able to send her abroad, and she came back with a master's degree. Over 200 children that goes to school every year from the stable of the foundation is my success story. 4,850 persons with albinism that we've been able to refer to hospital is my success story. I mean, one of the things that and I kept saying the DG because of the good rapport that we have with him in the foundation, who saw Lady Ivy, the lady of song, who was dying with skin cancer, and the NTA has been trying to see what support that they can give from your social responsibility, your CSR, corporate social responsibility, to see what can be done for persons with albinism in Nigeria. So there's been a measurable success in terms of the advocacy that we've been carrying out. Albino Foundation is a permanent member of the National Council on Education, and so we have also been mainstream in a very important policy-making organ. And so there's been a steady, but not as much as I expected. So, because it's often said, Kirian, that man's greatest enemy is his last accomplishment.
All right, finally, how are you getting support from Nigerian government, and not just at the federal level, but at sub-national level? Any kind of support? Because all the persons living with albinism also come from different states of the country.
Yes, that's a good question. The support is not coming in terms of Naira and Kobo, but we enjoy very goodwill with most state government. The Ekiti state government gave us a free office. The Osun state government gave us a free office. The Plateau state government has given us a free office. And we're just talking with the Kaduna state government and the Kogi state government. And the strategy here is we never go into a state to implement, except we're going with a project. And when we go into a state to implement, we don't ask the state to give us money. We implement the money that we got from the development partners. But we never go to any state without a project.
All right, Jake, this is where we conclude this very short conversation. Thank you indeed for coming, and I wish you well in your undertakings at the Albino Foundation.
Thank you, Kirian. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the management of NTA for being a good corporate Nigeria.
And we also thank all persons living with albinism in Nigeria, and of course we celebrate the day with them. We'll see you again, Jake.
Thank you.
All right. You're still watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for your company. Today we are taking a closer look at the Democracy Day speech of President Buhari as the nation marks 21 years of uninterrupted democratic governance. As always, we'll bring you correspondence reports and the conversation that follows. And that's next after the break.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
This commencement of the school feeding program is sequel to a March 29, 2020 presidential pronouncement by His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari directing the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, my humble self, to liaise with the state governments to develop strategies on the continuation of the school feeding program, even though our children are at home as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving us the food. Thank you, Federal Government. God bless Baba Buhari.
All over the world, the current pandemic has had unimaginable impact on people, communities, companies, and economies. As a people and as a nation, we have no choice but to rise above this pandemic. This is why we have come up with the Rise Challenge, to shine the spotlight on you, our customers, who are doing all you can to rise above this pandemic. Every week for the next 4 weeks, we will select 10 of the most inspiring stories to share and reward. If your story is selected, you will receive 250,000 Naira from Union Bank to support the work you are doing to rise above the pandemic. For more details on the Rise Challenge, go to www.unionbankng.com/the Rise Challenge. So tell us, what are you doing to say I care? What are you doing to rise?
I will still stand. I will still stand on the day that I finally wear my colors of pride, when the most prolific stars rise to look adversaries in the eye, putting them in their place. When the Spanish Armada set sail once again to take over the rough seas, the moment of excellence surprises, remarkable magic, unshakable dominance. Yes, I will still stand. When my passion melts away all the uncertainties, when I get reacquainted with my heroes, I will still stand. Get ready for the return of live sport only on GoTV. Stay connected or reconnect to GoTV, and we will give you an upgrade to the next package. GoTV, live it, love it.
Wetin be this coronavirus thing? Na true?
You see this coronavirus wey be COVID-19. Na the whole world palava, and e don dey kill many people for China, Italy, UK, US, Spain, and even for other countries dem.
Okay, wetin come be the reason wey dem say make everybody tanda for house?
Na because if e dey waka pium go carry am from person wey don get am, you go carry come give your family dem. Na so the thing take dey kill other people for other countries.
Okay, wetin come be that social distancing sef?
You see social distance. Now make we no come close because this thing na from air and touch now we dey contact am. We suppose dey at least 6 foot away from each other every time.
So okay, no be only to wash your hand and to sanitize them alone.
Make we no take this washing of hand thing take play but make we come together, join hand as we take pursue Ebola, pursue this coronavirus. Make we be each other keepers.
Futures cannot be destroyed. I call on all Nigerians to rise up and condemn rape and killing of innocent children. We can no longer take it. Enough is enough. we can win the war.
Despite some setbacks here and there, significant progress can be said to have been made in the area of security in Borno State and the Northeast region in general. The coming of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015 was viewed by some observers as the game changer, owing to some obvious reasons. Abubakar Muhammad Musa tells us why.
Ending insurgency, banditry, and other forms of criminality across the nation is being accorded appropriate priorities.
In a broadcast to the nation last Friday, President Muhammadu Buhari reaffirmed his administration's unshakable resolve to decisively flush out the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists and other criminals across the country. Borno has no doubt experienced devastation in all spheres of life due to the activities of Boko Haram insurgents between 2009 and 2014. Almost all the local government areas of northern Borno and Goza in southern part of the state were at that time under the control of the armed group. The unwavering determination and political will of the federal government under Muhammadu Buhari-led administration made it possible for the Nigerian armed forces to reclaim the local government areas from the hands of the insurgents, following the marching order given to the security chiefs to relocate to Maiduguri, headquarters of the war theater, in order to bring an end to the Boko Haram insurgency. Residents described this development as unprecedented.
Comparatively, it is glaring to virtually everybody. There is much difference because when Buhari was not on seat or was not in power, the whole system here, especially in Borno, we were almost packing.
The president of this country, President Muhammadu Buhari, have tried his best to see that the security situation of this country has improved tremendously.
There is need for Nigerians to give maximum support to relevant authorities towards the restoration of lasting peace to Nigeria. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Muhammad Musa, NTA News.
The commercial hub of northern Nigeria is a product of massive investment in the agricultural sector by the present administration, which translates to innovations in rice, cotton and wheat production. Yahanasu Hassan Barao, who examines the impact of various federal government interventions in the sector in the last 5 years, reports that there has been a turnaround in the fortunes of peasant farmers, with job openings resulting in poverty reduction.
Since the discovery of oil in Nigeria, the country has depended solely on mono economy with less attention on agricultural sector. However, with the coming of the Buhari-led administration, priority was accorded to agriculture with a view to diversify the country's economy, thereby restoring the lost glory of the sector. To achieve this, the federal government initiated a number of programs targeted to assist farmers across the country. This includes the Rice, Maize and Wheat and Co-Borrowers Program, where Kano rice farmers benefited with inputs worth more than 10 billion naira, which increased the production of rice and the proliferation of rice milling industries.
Before we are producing about 1.5 million metric tons of rice here in Kano, but now it's over 2.7 million metric tons.
When the tomato companies were crying that people import tomato paste, and our farmers are here suffering from post-harvest loss, a lot of achievements were being done.
In addition to these feats, Kano farmers also benefited from the federal government 100 billion naira cotton revolving fund aimed at reviving the ailing textile industries in the state. Yahaya Abubakar is among the 40,000 farmers who benefited from the federal government gesture.
This is a very good program. It will improve our livelihood.
The closure, even those that were against it, have seen some benefits from it as a result of what happened with the pandemic.
He, however, called on government to take proactive measures in tackling insecurity for farmers to have an enabling environment for farming to further enhance food security. In Kano, Yohannes Asambaro, NTA News.
Thank you, Hasanatu, and let's get to our guest. Professor Kabir Matu. Kabir Matu is a professor of political science and a public affairs analyst. And we are glad to have you join us from our Kaduna studio. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Kiran. It's nice to see you after a while.
My lecturer. Let's begin this way. Let's start from security. We've just had the first report on security, not minding the fact that there are still pockets of security breaches across the country. What do you make of the renewed commitment by the president to confront head-on and challenges relating to security across the country? You might as well take it back to the 2015 when he started as Nigeria's president.
Thank you very much, Kiran. I think what's very important and that Nigerians need to be reminded of was the situation of things in this country before the coming of this government in May 2015. The reality is that, virtually most part of the northeastern part of the country were really under the control of bandits in the name of Boko Haram. Insecurity became, the major issue, and government apparently looked rather very lackadaisical or helpless in resolving that problem. But I think it's very clear to everyone in this country today, and even members of the international community, that the last 5 years, have been so tremendous in the war against insurgency. And let me remind my fellow citizens that one of the most difficult warfares that any conventional military could face across the globe is, the guerrilla tactics which these insurgents have been waging. It's an unconventional thing. You don't know who the enemy is, and so on and so forth. And this, to my view, is responsible for basically the huge, catastrophes that Nigeria has witnessed in the last, 5 years, despite the huge efforts that this government has put in place in order to redeem and liberate most parts of the country from this, scourge of insurgency. Yes, we have issues with banditry across the northwest and north central, and even to a great deal it's part of, southern Nigeria. But I want to think again, these are barely the manifestations, of the obvious, endemic failures of social policies that have evolved to this moment where a substantial number of the citizens actually became helpless and therefore took to arms in the illegitimate way in order to perhaps express their... But I am also very excited at the rate at which the Nigerian military, the Air Force especially, is putting up a lot of efforts in containing with these, internal insurrections in the northwest, in the northeast, and in the north central and substantial part of southern Nigeria in order to address the issue. So in a nutshell, I think the government of President Buhari in the last 5 years has tremendously impacted in addressing the obvious security challenges that Nigeria has faced. And I don't expect that this matter is going to, completely be laid to rest in a matter of a day or two. It is an exercise that will require the intervention of, the individual citizens and every facet of the society to become partner in progress, partner with the military and other security apparatuses in order to be able to identify, these bandits, these individuals that, are bringing us into the situation of mayhem, so that we'll be able to address it. But generally speaking, Kieran, I think Nigeria today is better than the Nigeria that this government inherited in 2015, especially in the area of insurrection, in the area of, this very disturbing crisis in the northeast under the banners of the Boko Haram. So I think we are on the way. And of course, the recent relocation of the Chief of Army Staff to the northeastern part of the country again speaks volumes about, the intention of government. And I do believe very sincerely that with the cooperation of citizens and the support of, general Nigerian citizenry, it is possible that we are going to get over this thing, in a matter of time, not too long from now.
All right, thank you. Now, development of agriculture was one of the cardinal objectives of the Buhari administration, and just yesterday he reiterated what the government is also doing to expand, the horizon of a success already made in this sector. And he says, look, that diversification of the nation's economy must be driven by agriculture. What's your thoughts?
That's obviously the truth. If we look at immediate history of global powers like China, for instance, China became what it is today by ensuring that soon after the revolution in 1949, a lot of investment was put in the area of agriculture. It's reported that Chairman Mao had this philosophy of employing hundreds of thousands of Chinese, and then they will be asked to dig holes from one part of a town to the other, and then another 1,000 will also be employed in order to be going back to fill up all these places where they were dug. Now, the idea there was to create this, to create this belief that there is nothing better than the integrity of labor. That's one. And then secondly, before China became an industry, it was first of all an agricultural field. So those of us who lived in the 1970s and the 1980s and watched the regular Chinese films, we saw most of the activities and the fanfare taking place within agricultural formations. Today, China, apart from agriculture, is also they call themselves soft power, but it's one of the greatest industrial economies across the globe. So we missed our chances in the late 1960s when oil was discovered in commercial quantity, and we left agriculture. Of course, we know that during colonial period and soon after independence, the bulk of the incomes that the various sections of Nigeria got was basically from agriculture: cocoa, palm oil, cotton, groundnut in the north, and so many other things. So the only way to jumpstart the national economy is to ensure that, because you cannot own what you don't control. You don't control what you don't have. It is critical that we have to be able to go to the farms, produce enough to be able to feed ourselves, and then produce sufficient raw materials for us to be able to come back to the level of industry. And we thought we could do transfer of technology transfer, which used to be the phrases in the 1970s and early 1980s. But this government is in the full know of the fact that the only way Nigeria can make it to the next level is by investing heavily in the area of agriculture. And we have seen in the last 5 years through the Anko Borrowers program, the level at which importation of rice was substantially declined, the level at which, for instance, Kaduna State has the best ginger in the world. And I expect that with the intervention in the area of cotton production and other areas, ginger too should be included as an item on the agenda, so that the farmers here who are producing it will be able to feed up the markets across the globe. And so we do not have any option than to make sure that we get back to agriculture and invest very heavily, because that is the only way. And of course, one of the things that this government is doing in the area of agriculture is shifting the attention from the preconceived idea of using hose, and other rudimentary implements in agricultural production to mechanized agriculture. Agriculture is one of these areas. Yes, farming is one of them. Another one is, of course, livestock, which is again another area where Nigeria substantially depend on imports of these materials that we have all over the place. So I think the way to go is basically agriculture. And yes, of course, we are an import substitution society. A lot of us elites especially have been so bereft and so lazy that we are used to consuming what we don't produce. And any attempt on the part of government to ensure restrictions and enforce by encouraging local productions from the bottom is faced with very tremendous challenges by the very elite class. I'm happy that...
All right, Professor Matu, we'll have to pause you there and bring you back again after the break. So let's take a short break now. When we come back, the conversation continues.
Mama, Uncle Kem just called me. His wife just gave birth. Hey! If not be God, though, now who go do amo? I thank God. Boy or girl?
I was too excited to ask. Let me get my phone and call him. Mama, it's a... Mama, what's wrong?
So, I no fit see my grandpikin now as dem do obodo oyibo. Mama, I have a surprise that will cheer you up.
Introducing Sunday Data Plan. Enjoy Sunday browsing. 200 Naira gets you a whopping 1.25 gigabytes. Glow Unlimited.
So good to be here.
Me too, I brought that specially for you. You see that sanitizer you're holding? That is my protection against germs. Germs are everywhere, and they're always in places like there, and there. These germs spread all sorts of illnesses, so we have to be vigilant and protect our health. And that's why I use Too Sure Hand and Surface Sanitizer. With 70% alcohol, Too Sure Sanitizers ensures that you stop germs and you live well.
Wow, so I can be sure of my protection from germs.
Not just sure, but too sure.
Auntie Too Sure.
Oh no, call me Auntie Too Sure.
Too Sure Hand and Surface Sanitizer. Stop germs, live well.
25th February 2020, Nigeria. It is real. It is a nightmare. It is killing people all over the world. It is COVID-19. Compliance with the various states in Nigeria, the current measures will flatten the curves. Shutting down is not an act of wickedness, but an act to save lives. Stay home, stay safe. Observe social distance. Always put on a face mask while leaving your house. Make sure you are on a tricycle alone. Cars and buses cannot carry more than half their passengers. Always remember to wash your hands. Together, we will defeat COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities.
A united Nigeria,
strong in the fight
against COVID-19, to bring a voice of hope, to join hands to bring an end to this pandemic.
Kandi diko hafia si akwado agha n'otu aka ahụ ka ndị nwere ikike ịhụ maka ahụike si dịkwa nkwadebe maka ọgụ a.
Ní ayé àtijọ́, a farapamọ́ lábẹ́ àpáta Olúmọ, a sì borí ogun náà. Àkókò tó láti farapamọ́ sínú ilé.
Mu ci gaba da kaɗaita juna, kuma mu kiyaye wuraren da akwai cunkoson mutane.
Mukumulo pipa prizinko lokachide.
Womere ya mevogja wokura bowe kokekokyo wojeseri sanitizer wogura bowe.
Fulbe ballen ko emeden kawten juutne kaben dun nyaw coronavirus. Daroden e wuro ballen gomnati ballen ko emeden dun nyaw dun waray dun dillay.
One Nigeria, different languages, and we shall surely prevail.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities in partnership with Nigerian Television Authority. You can't beat the rich.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, from Lafia, Achigli Magaji takes a look at the gains of Nigeria's power sector roadmap and prospects of consummating partnerships, as highlighted in the Democracy Day presidential broadcast.
Transmission, rehabilitation, and expansion program is key to ensure robust supply to electricity in the country. Some of these include the Aloji to Onitsha, Delta Power Station to Benin, and Kaduna to Kano, as well as improvement in the Northern Corridor. A far-reaching is the signing of agreement for transmission and distribution infrastructure between the federal government and Siemens of Germany for a total of 11,000 megawatts by 2023 and 25,000 megawatts by 2025. In all parts of Nigeria are projects with Nasarawa State's share of Akruba substation and the recent approval of 8.1 billion naira to execute the Ferin-Rua Hydro project have come as welcome development. A cross-section of Nigerians say support and peaceful coexistence will assist government to realize its objective.
for the challenges. We have seen the amount of effort that our president is making. All of us collectively are behind him.
They have approved the Farurua water project, which has been abandoned for years. So what more do you want? And this is what is being replicated in other states of the federation.
There's no community in this country that you will not find a running water. And now that even with what the federal government in collaboration with the states now are trying to do in Ferirua here.
Apart from the successes being recorded in the area of power by the present administration, residents of Lafia are also applauding the government in intervention in such areas like the dualization of the Kefi, Akwanga, Lafia, Makodi Road, as well as the completion of Loko, Oweto Bridge in Lafia, Achigilimagaji, NTA News.
All right, thank you, Achigli. Let's return to Professor Kabir Maltu in our studios in Benin. Professor Maltu, you just heard about the power aspect, and I also like you to speak on the issue of infrastructure development, to hear about Second Niger Bridge in Anambra State, which is, of course, out of 48% completion. Of also to hear about the Akani Ibiam International Airport, which is receiving a facelift, and some other infrastructure across the nation, especially the rail line that is crisscrossing the nation. Just speaking all of this because we don't have much time before we round off this program.
Thank you very much, Kiran. I think the most important thing that we need to realize is that there is no nation that makes progress without an effective railway transportation system. And what this government is doing is effectively putting life back into it. And I am sure that before we leave in the next, before the government leaves in the next 3 years, it will be a story that the next government that will take over should be able to build on it. As far as the, Second Niger Bridge is concerned, it's been, a sing-song that we have had in this country for a very long time. But there is no government that has actually put it to practical, reality than this government. We're talking about 48% of completion. And I do believe that despite the odds in terms of, lost revenue and so on and so forth, the government should be able to have its words banned as soon as possible, and we have a second Niger Bridge. For power infrastructure, this has been the greatest problem that Nigeria has faced. You cannot industrialize, you cannot make any significant progress without steady power supply, especially power in the form of electricity. And what we see happening, let me give you a brief about the Fayurua scenario. I had the privilege of visiting Fayurua in Gwamba, local government area of Nasarawa State, when the immediate past governor took over. The first civilian governor of Nasarawa State, the Mudid, made substantial investment. And unfortunately, by the time he left, his successor for 4 years allowed most of this infrastructure to get rotten. In fact, it is not necessarily... One needs to go to Fayurua to realize not just the electricity and power dimension that is supposed to bring to the people of the state and Nigeria as a whole, but also the tourism attraction and the beautiful scenery of the environment that has been left to rot. The last time I was there, you cannot link up comfortably on any well-touched road between Wamba and Fayurua. But with the
Well, Professor Maltu, I'm afraid that this much time can allow us. We hope to return here on this platform for further conversations on this very important topic. We thank you for really being part of our program today. We thank you very much indeed. And right now, we take another break. When we come back, we'll continue with the program.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest.
President Muhammadu Buhari condoles with the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, over the demise of his elder brother, Dede Amechi. President Buhari urges the former governor of Rivers State and two-time Director General of his election campaigns to find strength in the notable legacies of his late brother, as his thoughts and prayers are with the Amechi family and people of Rivers State. In a similar development, President Buhari joins Muslims to mourn leading Islamic cleric and jurist Sheikh Ahmad Olaiwola Kamaldeen, who passed on in Ilori, Kwara State. He was, until his death, the Khalifa Al-Adabi of Ansarul Islam Society of Nigeria. President Buhari says the departed was a frontline Islamic jurist and an established technocrat who rose to the position of permanent secretary in government and Khalifa in the service of the Islamic faith. The president prayed Allah to grant the departed eternal rest. Now, let's take a quick look at weather a picture for tomorrow. And that's our program for today. We thank you for watching. See you again soon.